أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأزلفت الجنة للمتقين غير بعيد. هذا ما توعدون لكل أواب حفيظ. من خشي الرحمن بالغيب وجاء بقلب منيب. من خشي الرحمن بالغيب وجاء بقلب منيب. وجاء بقلب منيب ادخلوها بسلام. من خشي الرحمن بالغيب وجاء بقلب منيب ادخلوها بسلام. ذلك يوم الخلود. وجاء بقلب منيب ادخلوها بسلام. ادخلوها بسلام. ذلك يوم الخلود. لهم ما يشاءون فيها ولدينا مزيد. لهم ما يشاءون فيها ولدينا مزيد. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
A very good morning to Honorable President, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am Mrs. Anuradha Bakshi from ALCO, your Master of Ceremony for today's inaugural session. The inaugural ceremony will begin with the welcome address by the Secretary General of ALCO, and we are indeed very pleased to be in the Islamic Republic of Iran and the beautiful city of Tehran for this occasion. The Secretariat expresses its heartfelt gratitude to all their excellencies and distinguished delegates who have traveled long distances to come to attend this occasion. I will not take any more of your time, and I now invite His Excellency, Professor Dr. Rehmat Mohammed, Secretary General of ALCO, to present his welcome remarks.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good morning. Your Excellency, Madam Vice President of the Iran for Legal Affairs, Madam Dr. Aminzadeh, Madam President of the 52nd Annual Session of ALCO, Madam Dr. Nehru Chada, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished participants, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I am extremely grateful to Your Excellencies for having spared your valuable time to participate in the 53rd Annual Session of ALCO. The presence of Honorable Ministers and Attorney Generals heading the delegation at this annual session is a matter of intense importance for us. This signifies that ALCO and its initiative remain valuable to you all. I'm sure we would immensely benefit from your insightful comments and eagerly look forward to your participation. It is indeed an honor for me to take this opportunity to thank our gracious host country, the Islamic Republic of Iran. Excellencies, I would like to bring to your notice the fact that the Islamic Republic of Iran has previously hosted the annual session of ALCO on two distinct occasions, namely in 1975 and in 1997. In addition to this, the host government has taken keen interest in the activities of ALCO by referring substantive subjects for deliberation. These subjects include the deportation of Palestinian and other Israeli practices, among them the massive immigration and settlement of Jews in the occupied territories in violation of international law, particularly the Fourth Geneva Convention of 1949, an extraterritorial application of national legislation, sanctions imposed against third parties. On its part, the ALCO Secretariat has brought out two in-depth publications on these important subjects. The Iranian delegation has always made very valuable contributions to the subject deliberated upon during the annual session of ALCO, including the agenda items particularly pertaining to the ILC or International Law Commission. More importantly, the Islamic Republic of Iran has also been contributing to the work of ALCO by deputing a senior official on secondment as one of the Deputy Secretary Generals at ALCO Secretariat in New Delhi. In addition to this, the Islamic Republic of Iran has been taking various initiatives for fostering solidarity among Asian and African states. The Tehran Summit of the Non-Aligned Movement, which was held in August 2012, was a major opportunity for non-members, observers, and their guests to come together and to exchange views on international issues, among them some major international law issues, and to take concrete measures in promoting cooperation and coordination among them. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express deep concern at the unfortunate event pertaining to conflicts faced by certain of our member states in Asia and Africa. As we have gathered here today, thousands of innocent men, women, and children have either died, become refugees, or internally displaced in their own land. Many of them continue to fear for their life and could become victims of violent crimes against humanity for reasons not caused by them. It is tragic to see the manner in which international legal norms, especially those pertaining to armed conflict, are being disrespected on an alarming scale. It is important to denounce the breakdown of constructive dialogue between different conflicting interests or parties across the world. In these circumstances, adhere to the application of the rule of law. While it is true that international law can be said as elusive sometimes, but the fact of the matter is, until and unless countries uphold their commitments and adhere to the rule of law, violence and human atrocities cannot be put to a stop. Additionally, the world in the 21st century is confronted by many challenges, like increasing incidents of natural disasters and extreme weather events in recent years, as well as severe humanitarian crises caused by international and domestic conflicts. These have been growing stress on the importance of enhancing the resilience of human society. At this time of immense turmoil, we need to reaffirm our commitment to adhering to the principle of international law. It is critical to emphasize on the application of the principle of rule of law in the international and national context. It is my firm belief that respect for the rules of international law would determine the future of our world. In this context, the crucial role that ALCO played in building and consolidating the Asian and African solidarity needs to be emphasized. Collectively, we must move forward towards an era where international legal instruments become the cornerstones of national and international dealings of nation states all over the world. Excellencies, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that this year also marked the 60th anniversary of the Peaceful Coexistence Agreement, or we call it in India, Panchsheel Agreement. This agreement was a historical outcome of concrete cooperation among developing countries initiated by China and India, possessing profound realistic meaning even today. The 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, known in India as Panchsheel Treaty, were subsequently incorporated in modified form in the Statement of Principle in 1955 at the historic Asian-African Conference at Bandung. These principles are mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, mutual non-aggression, mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs, equality and cooperation for mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence. To mark this occasion, the People's Republic of China had organized a colloquium on the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence for the development of international law in Beijing during May 2014. In the course of the deeply insightful deliberations which ensued as part of the colloquium, it became clear that it was imperative to develop a common strategy on the part of the Asian African states to deal with the crisis of international system, since these problems involve and expose the collective vulnerability of the third world states. In addition to this, in any endeavor to create the future trajectory of international legal order, the Asian and African states have a critical role to play. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the work and functioning of ALCO has evolved and expanded over the years. In early years, ALCO activities as envisioned in its statutes primarily concentrated on consideration of legal problems referred to by its member states and follow-up of the work of the International Law Commission and other bodies of the UN system, related to international law and to the progressive development, codification, and dissemination of international law. However, gradually ALCO reoriented itself towards assisting its member state to prepare themselves for the plenipotentiaries conferences convened to develop and codify international law, both customary and conventional, by the United Nations. In this process, ALCO participation through its member state has also contributed immensely to a number of international legal regimes with which the Asian African states have been most concerned. Some of the recommendations which ALCO has made, for instance, in the context of law of diplomatic relations, law of the sea, law of treaties, have been codified in international legal instruments. These international legal instruments include the following, namely the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations in 1961, Vienna Convention on Law of Treaties 1969, the UN Convention on Law of the Sea 1982. ALCO has had a long and meaningful engagement with the law of the sea in general and UNCLOS in particular. The negotiation of UNCLOS 1982, particularly the areas relating to the Exclusive Economic Zone or EEZ, archipelago states and right of landlocked states, the ALCO contribution is well known at the international level. Another area of international law where ALCO has made its presence felt, both regionally and globally, is in the field of alternative dispute resolution mechanism. This has been able to achieve through the establishment of its regional arbitration center in Kuala Lumpur, Cairo, Lagos, and Tehran. A fifth regional arbitration center is upcoming in Kenya. As an intergovernmental organization, ALCO has done its best to live up to the expectation of its member states, despite its limited human and financial resources. So long as member states remain supportive of ALCO's objective, the Secretariat will tirelessly work and dedicate its human resources to the work of ALCO, particularly in the progressive development of international law. Excellencies, I would like to share with you all the proposed course of action which we have planned for the next few days. We would be touching upon areas of common concern of Asian African member states in terms of international legal issues. After the inaugural session gets over, the head of delegation of the participating delegation will be making their general statement, through which they would share their experiences and perspective on a number of contemporary areas of international legal matters that are of vital concern to the Asian African state. Thereafter, following the past practice, we would have 2 half-day special meetings devoted to the exploring in detail 2 important issues. Firstly, the special meeting on selected items on the agenda of ILC. The second special meeting would be on the topic of violent extremism and terrorism legal aspect. As the situation stands today, violent extremism is an issue that has assumed very serious dimension, and as a legal consultative body, we need to deliberate on this issue and see how a coordinated response, as these affect regional peace and security in the legal perspective. To make this meeting successful, a number of legal experts would lead the panel discussion. We are also foreseeing another important ALCO agenda item which will be proposed by the People's Republic of China in the next session. During the annual session, we would also be discussing the following topics that are on the work program of ALCO: the law of the sea, status and treatment of refugees, deportation of Palestinian and other Israeli practices among them in the massive immigration and settlement of Jews in all occupied territories in violation of international law, particularly the 4th Geneva Convention, extraterritorial application of national legislation, sanction imposed against third parties, environment and sustainable development, the WTO as a framework agreement and code of conduct for world trade, and hopefully international law in cyberspace. Apart from these issues, the head of delegation will also be reviewing the organizational matters, including the financial situation of ALCO. Once again, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this 53rd annual session of ALCO. And once again, I thank the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the gracious host for this annual session. I sincerely hope that with your meaningful cooperation, this section would be a grand success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary General, for your very comprehensive statement, which touched upon the agenda of ALCO and the contemporary challenges facing the international community. Now I invite the President of the 52nd Annual Session of ALCO, Dr. Neeru Chadha, the Joint Secretary of Legal and Treaties Division and Legal Advisor to the Government of India.
Good morning. Her Excellency, Madam Vice President of Iran for Legal Affairs, Professor Rahmat Mohammad, Secretary General of ALCO, Honorable Ministers, Attorneys General, Heads of Delegations, distinguished delegates and observers. First of all, I'll take this opportunity to thank Madam Vice President, our chief guest, for taking time out of her busy schedule for gracing this occasion and agreeing to inaugurate the 53rd session of ALCO. On behalf of my government and my delegation, I would like to thank the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran for the warm welcome extended to us and for the excellent arrangements made for the 53rd session. Our appreciation also goes to the Secretary General and the ALCO Secretariat for the excellent arrangements that have been made for this session. I'll take this opportunity to also thank all ALCO member states, the Secretary General, the Secretariat, and the Vice President for the 52nd session for the support and cooperation that has been extended to me as the President of the 52nd Annual Session. Distinguished members, ALCO, a consultative organization, comprises of member states of diverse cultures and legal systems. Therefore, it is always a challenge for the organization to consolidate the position of Asian African countries in the field of international law. However, over the years, it has succeeded in doing so several times and therefore has acquired a unique place in the galaxy of international organizations. Member states attach great significance to the work of this organization, and this has contributed to the rise in its stature. Many factors have contributed to the growth of this organization, which include transition from a non-permanent committee to a formal organization, enlarging of its members from 7 to 47, permanent headquarters in New Delhi, taking up the challenges of new topics and diverse issues of international law, which are of concern for Asian African countries, initiating and strengthening cooperation with international organizations and institutions, and encouraging observer states to contribute. In this process, the organization has succeeded in making significant contribution to the progressive development of various branches of international law, including law of the sea, refugee law, human rights, trade law, and treaty law. During my presidency, ALCO Secretariat, despite being faced with limited financial and human resources, organized numerous events. I'm sure that the Secretary General in his report would give a detailed account of these activities undertaken after the 52nd annual session during the course of this session. Hence, I would touch only upon the important ones. ALCO Legal Advisors meeting and the ALCO ILC meeting took place in New York on 24th October 2013. This is an annual event in the ALCO calendar. ALCO always attaches high importance to the agenda items of International Law Commission, and these are a part of our annual deliberations. The ALCO Secretariat organized a two-day workshop on selected agenda items of the ILC jointly with the National University of Malaysia in Putrajaya, Malaysia in November 2013. The Secretariat of ALCO also convened a two-day legal experts meeting on the agenda item Law of the Sea in February 2014 at ALCO headquarters in New Delhi. There were 5 working sessions that focused on various topics of interest. In this meeting, high-level officials from various ministries of the member states of ALCO, academics from many universities in the Asian-African region, a few officials from the United Nations, and students from many Indian universities participated. We are grateful to the governments of Indonesia and Japan for deputing their experts to make presentations during this meeting, as well as to the Xiamen University, China, and University Terengganu, Malaysia, for collaborating with ALCO for this event. ALCO, along with International Committee of Red Cross, conducted a joint workshop on contemporary issues facing international humanitarian law in May this year. It can thus be seen, Madam Vice President, from the short summary of events organized by ALCO last year, that the organization is active and is coordinating with various institutions to keep up with the dialogue and consultations on contemporary issues of international law. I hope ALCO continues to keep up with such endeavors. To conclude, I would once again thank the Secretary General for his tireless efforts and the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran for the excellent preparations and arrangements for making this session a success. Since I have the floor, I would also wish the incoming President all the success, and I'm confident that under his able guidance, the organization would continue to work as a platform for legal deliberations on issues of significance to Asian African countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam President, for your statement which touched upon some of the activities undertaken by ALCO last year. Now, may I have the pleasure to invite the chief guest, Dr. Ilham Aminzadeh, the Vice President of Islamic Republic of Iran for Legal Affairs, to present the keynote address.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Excellencies, Dr. Rahmat Mohammed, Secretary General of ALCO, Honorable Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Justice, and Attorney Generals, distinguished delegates and observers, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to address on behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran this August